Welcome to Property Law 101. I'm Sara Bronin, and I created this series so that you could understand the fundamentals of property and property law through 4 broad questions. Today, we're talking about the third question, using property. And we're talking about public land use regulation in the form of zoning. So zoning is the public regulation of land uses, structures, and lots through the assignment of lots to distinctly regulated districts. For your information, this definition comes from the draft fourth restatement of property law. I'm helping to draft the first ever land use volume in a restatement. As we say in the restatement, the word zoning includes both zoning codes as they are written and zoning decisions which officials make in reaction to zoning applications. We'll cover zoning applications and the deal making and flexibility that surrounds them in another video. But for now, we ask, how does zoning work? All right, so zoning codes typically include both a map and a written code. This can be in the form of an ordinance or regulations. The map shows you where zones or districts are. The number of zones in any particular jurisdiction varies. In a recent study of Connecticut zoning codes, I found an average of 14.5 districts for each zoning jurisdiction. There were some jurisdictions with 1 zone, and there were other jurisdictions with as many as 40 zones. Most of these were regular or base districts. Some of these were overlay districts that can be laid on top of a base zone and change the characteristics of the underlying zone. The code, meanwhile, explains how the districts must be regulated. For example, the code will specify what kinds of uses will occur within particular districts. These uses might be agricultural, industrial, residential, commercial, open space, or other types of uses, subcategories of these, for example. In the Connecticut study, we found that most zones are residential zones, either primarily residential districts or districts allowing a mix of residential and non-residential uses. In fact, over 2/3 of residential land allows only single-family housing as of right. Only about 1/4 of districts allowed no residential at all. Zoning codes also dictate how buildings and structures must or may be built. It says how tall buildings can be and how bulky, how big they can be. It says how they will appear on a lot as well. In another video, we cover zoning codes that emphasize the form of buildings. These are called form-based codes, somewhat explicably. The code will also say how large lots have to be for certain uses. So a really common provision of zoning codes is that they require a minimum acreage for each housing unit. Single-family zoning very often has a minimum lot size for each house. In that Connecticut study I just mentioned, 68.5% of land zoned primarily for residential uses has a minimum size of 1 acre or more. It's about 81% if you include 0.92 acres or more, 40,000 square feet or more. These types of regulations reduce density of development and create sprawl. Once the zoning code is created, there's a process by which people can put in applications to get a zoning permit. The nature of the process will be set forth by both state enabling acts and local law. But usually there are 3 bodies that play a role. Okay, so first is a legislative governing body like a city council or a board of aldermen. It's in charge of the map and the text of the zoning code itself. One exception to this among states is Connecticut, which uniquely allows cities to delegate the power to draft and amend zoning codes to planning and zoning commissions. So the legislative body is also in charge of rezonings, which is a way to change the map or text of the zoning ordinance. Second body that plays a role in zoning are boards of zoning appeals or boards of zoning adjustment. They can hear particular applications, but their primary function is to consider requests for minor deviations like variances. So we will talk about variances in another video. Third body is the Planning Commission. So planning commissions deal with the comprehensive plan and also advise the legislative body about decisions that that body has to make. State laws or judicial decisions sometimes require zoning laws to be tied to comprehensive plans. And in those jurisdictions, planning commissions play a very important role. There is another important player in the zoning scheme, and that is the staff of the local jurisdiction. So the town planner or the zoning enforcement official will really be the one on the ground interacting with property owners, hoping to do something with their properties and putting in applications pursuant to zoning processes. As they enforce the zoning code, these staff members might be able to issue fines or fees or a stop work order. They might also be able to force property owners to remove structures that do not comply. That's a rare remedy, but it does happen. If you're interested in learning more about the Connecticut example, download my paper on SSRN, which was uploaded in February 2021. It provides a wealth of information about what zoning codes are and what they do. So I will leave it there. I'd love to hear from you, whether on Twitter or through my website, where you can sign up to my mailing list, and see you next time.